With Rob Lewis, Brent Hubbs, VolQuest.com. Tennessee a winner tonight over South Carolina by a score of 93-73. Rob, lots of numbers to get into, but when you have someone go 7 from 10 from the three-point line, you're supposed to win a basketball game pretty handily. Victor Bailey was terrific offensively tonight for Tennessee. Made it an easy go for the Volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, where did that come from? The guy shooting 24% from three in SEC play goes out tonight. He's 7 to 10 from long range, 29 points. The third Tennessee player, by the way, to score 27 plus this season. I don't know if you have a lot of teams that can do that. I think even more encouraging than what you saw from Bailey is what you saw from John Fulkerson. 19 points, and not just the numbers. I mean, he was aggressive. He was running the floor. He was decisive with what he wanted to do on offense when he got in position to score. And Tennessee shoots 54% from the field and 93 points at SEC high for the season. And, great game from that standpoint, but just another example of how maddening this team is to try and figure out when they, do this 5 days after just laying an egg in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, it's interesting on Fulkerson, and I haven't looked it up. The last time he had 12 shot attempts in a game, it's probably been a bit because, I mean, he's not just been looking to score in any way. And, I thought he did a much better job of scoring, moving towards the basket instead of trying to back people down. Bailey with no turnovers tonight. And I thought the freshman, while Keon Johnson didn't have a big night, Springer in particular was again efficient, looking to find teammates. I mean, Tennessee's assist numbers overall, they shared the basketball well, but I didn't think they overpassed tonight as we've seen them do at some other points in times in games, and they didn't force stuff. I thought they had a really good balance offensively in terms of their aggressiveness as well as finding their teammates.
Yeah, I agree. 26 assists on 33 made shots. That's about as good as you're going to see. They pushed it. Really liked the way they got out in transition with 16 points. You mentioned Keon. I think he looked like he was on his way to maybe having a big game. He had 6 points in the first 9 minutes, picks up his second foul, goes to the bench, doesn't come back in the first half. And then in the second half, I don't know that he took a shot. I'll have to look at the stat book. I know he didn't take many, but was great as a playmaker. I mean, had 2 beautiful passes to Fulkerson on the break for buckets. In the night tied with Jaden with 5 assists, team high. And you mentioned Jaden, so efficient. He scored 16 points, took 8 shots, went 8 for 8 from the foul line, had 5 assists. Just a really good night, and heard from somebody that he was also playing a little under the weather.
Yeah, I think the $1 million question now, and nobody knows the answer to this, Rob, is does this wake this team up into some kind of, consistency? Obviously, Victor Baylor is not going to do a night in and night out what he did tonight. But as you mentioned, Fulkerson, can they get some kind of consistency out of him? Can they get some kind of consistency out of Bailey where it's not feast or famine? I think that's the $1 million question for this team with 3 weeks to go in the regular season, because Springer and Johnson have to have somebody to go with them in terms of scoring some points if this team's going to do anything in postseason play.
Yeah, and especially, 2 upperclassmen. Bailey, his first year he's played, but he was here last year. He knows the system. He's experienced. He played a lot of basketball in Oregon. And Fulkerson, I don't think you're going to see him look this good every night, but hopefully, he's busted his slump. We'll get some confidence from this game and can get back to a guy that, you can depend on to at least, give you 10, 12, 13 points every night instead of disappear.
Yeah, be fascinating to see if he can put anything together back to back. I thought it was really interesting that Frank Martin had a long conversation. It looked like a pretty extensive conversation with Fulkerson after the game, just talking to him. I'd love to know what that conversation was about, because I think everybody in this league has been surprised at his lack of production, and it's obviously been maddening for Tennessee. Rob, the $1 million question, though, is what? Can they consistently do anything? Because this has been a maddening team to figure out.
Yeah, and just, I don't want to be pessimistic, but given their track record, I wrote this on Saturday after the LSU game that I had no doubt that they would bounce back and look really good. However, I hate to say it, I have no doubt that they'll lay another egg somewhere in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, crazy to see. Tonight, no eggs laid as Tennessee was terrific. They blow out South Carolina by a score of 93-73 on Victor Bailey's 29 points. That's going to do it for this edition of Fast Break. Full coverage of the game coming up at volquest.com. For Rob Lewis, I'm Brent Hubbs.